We all want to feel needed on our children's big days. But no one tells you what it feels like when you're simply tolerated. The wedding was beautiful. I'll start by saying that. It was exactly what she wanted, maybe more. An old vineyard-turned venue with strings of golden lights draped from one oak tree to another. A hand-lettered welcome sign. Live quartet playing soft jazz near the entrance. Soft blush colors everywhere. On the napkins, the bouquets, the sky at sunset. It was a scene made for photos. And she, my daughter, looked like someone out of a bridal magazine. Her dress was fitted and elegant, with tiny lace details around the sleeves. Her veil was cathedral length. Her shoes sparkled when she walked. Everyone gasped when she appeared at the end of the aisle. Even me. And yes, I cried. Not just because she looked stunning. Not just because I was proud. But because I remembered things. I remembered the day she was born. Screaming, red, tiny fists clenched. I remembered how she used to sleep with her feet tucked under my shirt. I remembered every school concert, every scraped knee, every whispered, "Mommy, stay." But those memories, they felt like someone else's story now. The woman walking down the aisle barely looked at me. She smiled at her father, at the guests, at the photographer. But when our eyes met, she blinked and looked away, and something inside me folded. I arrived early that day, carrying a small box, wrapped in navy blue paper, tied with a silver ribbon. It wasn't fancy, not compared to the other gifts piling up on the long white table. Designer bags, jewelry cases, cards thick with envelopes stuffed inside. Mine looked immodest, but it wasn't the cost that mattered. Inside that box was something I had been saving for 2 decades. A hand-stitched journal. Every page filled with notes, letters, photos, pressed flowers, receipts from our favorite bakery, even a tooth she lost when she was 5. The last page read, "And now I give this to you, not to remember me, but to remember us." Took me 6 months to finish it. I had originally planned to give it to her on her graduation day. But the wedding felt more fitting. She was starting a new life. I wanted her to carry a piece of the old one. I should have known she was pulling away long before this day. It started subtly. Less phone calls. More rushed messages. She began calling me by my first name when talking to others. "This is Linda," she'd say. "Not my mom." She said she didn't want to seem young. That introducing me as mom at business dinners made her feel immature. I laughed the first time, said it was fine, but it didn't feel fine. Then came the planning. She didn't ask for my help. She didn't want my input. She hired a planner and said, "It's better this way, less messy." Less messy, like I was a risk. I told myself it wasn't personal, that this was her way of coping, that brides were stressed. But I felt it. Every time I asked to help with centerpieces or pick colors, she redirected me to a Google spreadsheet. I started to feel like a spectator, not a parent. After the ceremony, the guests moved toward the dinner area, tables lit by candles. Glassware so polished it reflected the lights like stars. I found the gift table tucked under an arch of roses. I placed my box at the far corner, not to hide it, just out of respect. Her maid of honor was there. She saw me set it down. "Oh," she said, looking at it. "Did you forget the card?" "No," I smiled. "It's inside." She gave a tight nod. Didn't ask anything else. Later, during the speeches, the gifts were brought out. One of the bridesmaids was reading off names. From the Sandersons, a Tiffany serving set. "Oh," people cooed. From Aunt Marie, the silver bracelet. "Ah!" Then she picked up my box. Looked confused. From Linda?" Emma turned her head, just slightly, then laughed. Not cruelly, not loudly, but in that sharp, clipped way people laugh when they're embarrassed for you. She leaned to her friend and said, "It's probably another recipe book." People chuckled, and I froze. My throat tightened, not from shame, but from heartbreak. She didn't even recognize the box. She didn't remember the paper, the ribbon, the one we used every Christmas when she was little. It was like none of it mattered anymore. That morning, before the ceremony, I had stood in front of my bedroom mirror. I was holding a small box in my other hand. Not the gift. My wedding ring. A modest diamond, barely a half carat. It had been mine for 34 years. When my husband died, I wore it every day even though it hurt to look at it. Selling it was a last resort. But I had done it. I had used the money to cover part of the open bar she desperately wanted. Because the budget had run out and her father's side refused to downgrade the champagne. I never told her. Because that's what mothers do. We carry the weight. Quietly. After the dinner, I stayed behind while others danced. I wandered out toward the garden. I saw her laughing with her in-laws, taking photos, twisting the new ring on her finger like a prize. I sat on a bench near the roses and cried, not because of the laughter, but because I knew I had become invisible, not because she hated me, but because she forgot what I meant. I was no longer the hero, just background, and I made peace with that, until I remembered something I still had, and in that moment, I knew what I had to do. I didn't leave immediately. The music still played softly in the courtyard. The guests laughed, the string lights glimmered, and the scent of jasmine floated in the air. But I stayed seated on that bench, staring at the box still tucked under my arm, not ready to give up or to walk away. I imagined Emma seeing me gone later. Fine, I thought. Let her believe I melted away under the lights. But I couldn't let this go unresolved. Not tonight. Not when so much was silent. I stood up slowly, brushed the hem of my dress, clutched the silver ribbon of the box like a lifeline. I took a steadying breath, like clenching your fist underwater before surfacing. I walked back inside. The ballroom felt different now. The soft jazz had given way to upbeat tempo. Guests on the dance floor, holding champagne flutes high. I crossed toward the gift table. When people saw me approaching, they turned. Faces shifted from idle chatter to curiosity. A friend from the school years whispered, "Is everything okay?" I only held up the box. She nodded. I climbed onto a chair. The noise died. "Excuse me," I said, voice soft, but loud enough to resonate. I paused. The room was still. Emma pushed the edge of the table, took a deeper breath herself. I met her eyes. "I want to share something with all of you," I began. I held the box high enough so people saw the little bow. "This isn't just a present. It's a reminder." Murmurs started. I continued. "When Emma and I were planning this day months ago, she wanted champagne. The good stuff. Imported. Expensive. Tiny clusters gathered at the edges. She wanted everything to be perfect. And I agreed. Because it mattered to her." I looked at Emma, voice steady. "But perfection comes at a cost." I unwrapped the ribbon. Slowly. "Inside this box is something else. Something I didn't tell her. Something she deserves to know." I pulled out the journal, the one filled with memories of her. And the pearl necklace, embroidered linen, photos, all meant to remind her who she is. The guests leaned in. I removed the lid, but I didn't open it yet, breathing in the hush. On the day of my wedding, more than 30 years ago, I received a ring. Small diamond, vibrant life. I clenched the lid. After her father passed, I sold that ring, so my daughter could have this day. Silence. The room felt heavy. Emma's mouth hung open. I continued, voice firm. "It was hard. That ring wasn't just jewelry. It was my promise to her father. The memory of our years together." I paused. The money from it helped pay for the venue, the flowers, even a bit of the dress cost. I opened the journal slowly. Images of her at age 6, writing, "I love you," in sloppy handwriting. Her first recital photo. Every stitch, every flower petal, every page, cost me something. But more than that, it was my hope. Tears surfaced in many eyes. I placed the journal and necklace gently on the gift table. I sold my ring to give her more than a wedding, to give her roots, belonging, history. Silence lingered. Emma stepped forward. Her voice wobbled. I didn't know." She picked up the journal. Brows furrowed. Tears streamed. "I thought the wedding was on us because you wanted it. Because we'd always planned it. She turned to the gathered crowd. And my mom. She gave everything she had. A hush, followed by soft sobbing. Emma walked to me, held my hand. I'm so sorry, she whispered, for ignoring you, for just the aunt. She kissed my forehead, pulled her into a hug. Later that night, someone posted the story online. Mother sells her wedding ring for daughter's wedding, and the daughter finds out. The comments poured in. Stories of sacrifice, love, generational care. I didn't look. I only sat with Emma on the couch later. She rubbed my arm. Mom, let's call Dad's family. She pulled out her phone. But more importantly, can I introduce you at next year's event? As my mother, not just the aunt. I nodded. We sat together, sharing silence. I realized something by dawn. Love isn't about grand gestures on social media. It's quiet, hidden, and yes, often unpaid. But what people need isn't always visible. My daughter will grow. She'll succeed. But tonight she learned to see. And I was seen.